Hello, I'm Jake, and this is my English story. At first, I did not know any English. When people spoke, their words felt strange. I felt lost and confused. But now, I speak well. I can talk with friends, read books, and write sentences. It was not easy, but I did it. Let me take you back to the beginning. I remember the first time I heard English. It was on TV. The actors spoke a language I did not understand. They laughed and seemed happy, but I could not join them. I wanted to understand and be part of their world. In school, English was a subject. The teacher wrote words on the board and said them out loud. To me, they were just sounds that I could not make sense. My classmates understood. They nodded, repeated the words, and even made sentences. I sat quietly, hoping the teacher would not call on me. I was afraid to speak. What if I said it wrong? What if they laughed at me? One day, I decided I wanted to change. I wanted to learn English so I could understand the TV shows, talk with my friends, and do well in school. I knew it would not be easy, but I was ready to try. First, I talked to my parents. I told them I wanted to learn English. They supported me and said it was a good idea. They encouraged me to start small and not give up. That gave me hope. I started with the basics. The alphabet was my first step. A, B, C. I practiced each letter, writing them down one by one. At first, my letters were shaky. Some were too big, others too small, but I kept practicing. Soon, my letters looked just right, and I was proud of my progress. Next, I learned simple words: cat, dog, apple. These were words I saw every day. I made flashcards with pictures and words. I looked at them often and said the words out loud. Slowly, the words began to make sense. I could see a cat and say cat. I could hold an apple and say apple. It felt good to know these words. Practicing every day was important. I set aside time each day to study. Sometimes I was tired, and sometimes I wanted to play. But I remembered my goal. I wanted to learn English, so I practiced every day. I learned a little more and started to make sentences like, I am Jake, and this is a book. These were simple sentences, but they meant a lot to me. They were my first steps in speaking English. I practiced with my friends. They were kind and patient, correcting me when I made mistakes. They cheered me on when I got it right. Their support made a big difference. Speaking out loud was scary at first, but I learned that mistakes were okay. Each mistake taught me something new. Over time, I became less shy. I spoke more and felt my confidence growing. Reading and listening were also important. I started with children's books. They were simple and had pictures. I could look at the pictures and understand the story. I read the words out loud, repeating them until they sounded right. I listened to English songs, which made learning fun. I sang along even if I didn't understand all the words. Slowly, the songs made more sense. I watched English cartoons. The characters spoke clearly, and I could follow their stories. Watching cartoons helped me learn new words and phrases. Writing was another step. I started with simple sentences. I like cats, and today is sunny. I wrote in a journal every day. My sentences were short, but they helped me practice. I paid attention to spelling and wanted to write the words correctly. Spelling was tricky at first. Some words were hard to spell, but I practiced and used a dictionary to check my words. Each day, my writing improved. I took small steps and didn't try to learn anything at once. I focused on one thing at a time. This made learning easier. I joined an English club that met every week. We talked about different topics and played games in English. The club was fun and helped me practice English. I made new friends who were also learning English. We helped each other and shared tips. I found language partners online. We talked through video calls. They wanted to learn my language, and I wanted to learn English. We practiced speaking and listening. When I didn't understand something, I asked for help from my teacher, my friends, and my parents. They were always willing to help. Learning English changed my life. It opened new doors. I could talk with more people and understand more things. I felt more confident and was proud of my progress. Now I want to help others. I want to share my story to inspire you. If you are learning English, know that you can do it. Start small, practice every day, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Ask for help when you need it and keep going. Even when it's hard, you can do it too. Learning English was not always easy, but I learned that every mistake was a chance to grow. My teacher encouraged me to celebrate my progress, no matter how small. Each time I practiced, I could see improvement. At first, I was afraid of making mistakes. I thought that if I said something wrong, people would laugh. But I realized that mistakes are part of learning. They help us understand better. I started to keep going, even when it was hard. I would tell myself, you can do it, just like I did. With time, I became more confident. I learned to enjoy the process of learning. After I built my vocabulary with simple words, I was ready to start making sentences. This was an exciting step. It felt like putting together a puzzle. Each word I learned was a piece, and now I could form complete thoughts. I began with simple sentences. I am Alex. This is a book. These sentences were easy to understand. For the first time, I could express myself in English, and it felt thrilling. To create sentences, I learned about basic grammar. I discovered that every sentence needs a subject and a predicate. The subject is the person or thing doing the action, and the predicate tells what the subject does or is. For example, in I am Alex, I is the subject and am Alex is the predicate. I practiced making sentences every day. I used the words I had learned. The cat is black. I have an apple. She is my friend. Writing these sentences helps me understand how words fit together and improved my grammar and spelling. I also learned about articles, a, an, and the. These small words help clarify which specific thing we are talking about. A cat means any cat, while the cat means a specific cat. Understanding articles helped me create clearer sentences to reinforce my learning. I wrote in a journal every day. I wrote simple sentences about my life. Today is sunny. I went to school. My mom made dinner. This daily practice made me more comfortable writing in English and helped me review my vocabulary. Speaking practice was a crucial part of my journey. Constructing sentences on paper was one thing, but saying them out loud was another challenge. I needed to practice speaking to improve my pronunciation and fluency. I started by talking to myself in my room. I repeated my sentences out loud. I am Alex. This is a book. Hearing the words helped me become familiar with their sounds. At first, I felt silly, but I soon realized it was a valuable exercise. Next, I practiced speaking with friends. They were very supportive and understood I was learning. We had simple conversations in English. They asked me questions and I tried to answer in complete sentences. How are you? I am fine. What is this? This is a pen. These short conversations helped me gain confidence. My friends also corrected my mistakes gently. If I said something wrong, they would say, "It's not. He's a friend of me." It is. He is my friend. Their corrections were invaluable and helped me learn the correct way to speak. Over time, I made fewer mistakes and spoke more fluently. I also joined a language exchange group with people who wanted to practice different languages. Some were learning English, while others were learning my native language. We took turns speaking, giving me a chance to practice English with new people. At first, it was intimidating, but everyone was friendly and supportive. In the group, we played speaking games. One game was to describe a picture in English. I would say, "There's a cat on the table. The boy's playing with a ball." This game helped me practice using different words and constructing sentences quickly. Another game was role playing. We pretended to be in different situations, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. "I would like a sandwich, please. Where is the nearest bus stop?" These exercises were practical and fun. Overcoming shyness was one of the biggest challenges in learning to speak English. I was afraid of making mistakes and worried that people would laugh or think I was not smart. This fear made it hard for me to speak, but I knew I had to be brave and take risks. Positive self talk helped me. Whenever I felt nervous, I would remind myself, "It's okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. That's how we learn." This encouragement gave me the courage to speak up. My friends and family supported me. They never laughed at my mistakes. Instead, they praised my efforts, which made me feel more confident. I set small goals for myself. Instead of trying to speak perfectly, I focused on small steps. My first goal was to answer a simple question: "How are you?" "I am fine." Once I achieved that, I set a new goal: to have a short conversation. "What is your name?" "My name is Alex." "Where are you from?" "I am from Brazil." These small goals helped build my confidence. Gradually, as I practiced more, my shyness faded. I became more comfortable speaking in English. I realized that most people were kind and patient. They wanted to help me succeed. As I learned to laugh at my mistakes, I would say, "Oops, I meant to say, she is my friend, not, she is a friend to me." Laughing at my mistakes made learning more enjoyable and showed others I was willing to try. Absolutely. I'll build an extended second part to Jake's story, full of memorable moments, emotional scenes, and key relationships. This new section will dive deeper into Jake's connection with others as he grows more comfortable with English and experiences meaningful, affectionate moments along his journey. Learning English was no longer just a goal for Jake. It had become a part of who he was. He didn't realize how much his journey would affect not only his mind but also his heart. Each word, each sentence, every single step brought him closer to people in ways he'd never expected. As he learned, Jake also discovered a deeper connection to those around him: his friends, family, and even strangers who supported him. One evening, Jake was studying in his small, cozy room when his mother called him down. She had prepared his favorite tea, spiced with ginger and honey, something she always made when she sensed he needed a little encouragement. "Jake," she began, sitting across from him, I see how hard you're working. He glanced at her, a little surprised. It's hard, but I want to keep trying. English still feels new and different, but I don't want to give up. His mother smiled softly, reaching over to hold his hand. Sometimes, when you work on something every day, it can feel like you're not moving forward, but I see the change in you. Every time you come home and talk about the new words you've learned, I feel proud. You're already stronger than you think. Her words warmed Jake's heart. He realized that learning English was no longer just about studying. It was a way of making his family proud and expressing his love for them. He promised himself that one day he'd surprise his mother by telling her everything he felt in perfect English. As Jake continued his journey, he spent more time practicing with his friends at school. One of those friends, Sarah, had been one of his earliest supporters. She had a quick kindness about her that made Jake feel comfortable, even on days when he doubted himself. One afternoon, Sarah stayed back with Jake after school to help him practice. They sat side by side on a bench outside the school, the sun casting a warm glow over the courtyard. "Why do you want to learn English so much?" she asked, her eyes curious and kind. Jake hesitated, then answered slowly, I want to connect with people. When I couldn't speak, I always felt like an outsider. I don't want to feel like that anymore. I want to share my thoughts and listen to others." A soft smile appeared on Sarah's face. "Jake, you know you're already a part of us, right? You don't need perfect English for that." Her words hit him deeply. For the first time, he felt truly accepted. Speaking English wasn't about proving anything. It was about opening doors to deeper friendships. With Sarah's encouragement, he felt that maybe, just maybe, he could learn to trust himself. They started meeting every week after school, and slowly, these practice sessions became something Jake looked forward to. They weren't just about studying English. They were moments of laughter, encouragement, and the start of a true friendship. One day, Jake received a small envelope in his locker. Inside was a handwritten note from his teacher, Mr. Thompson, who had been Jake's dedication over the months. "Dear Jake," it began, "I've watched you grow from a shy student into a determined learner. I want you to know that I am proud of you. Keep pushing forward, even when it gets hard. Every step you take brings you closer to where you want to be." Jake felt his heart swell. Mr. Thompson's words were more than encouragement. They were a reminder that his hard work mattered. For the first time, Jake felt truly seen, and this simple note became a keepsake he treasured deeply. Several months later, Jake felt ready to show his progress to his family. He wanted them to know how far he'd come and to share a part of himself he'd kept quiet. After dinner, one evening, Jake asked if he could read something he'd written in English. His family gathered around, curious and supportive, and Jake began to read from a short essay he'd written. The words weren't perfect, and his accent was still thick, but as he read, he saw his parents' faces light up with pride. When he finished, his mother pulled him into a tight hug. "Jake, you've grown so much. This is amazing." His father, usually a quiet man, gave him a proud pat on the shoulder. "Keep going, son. You're doing great." In that moment, Jake realized that learning English wasn't just his journey. It was something he shared with everyone who cared for him. His success was their joy, and that feeling stayed with him. A few weeks later, Mr. Thompson announced that each student would give a special, small presentation in English. Jake felt a wave of nerves wash over him. Speaking English in front of the class was one thing, but giving a whole presentation, it felt impossible. On the day of the presentation, Jake's hands shook as he walked to the front of the classroom. He glanced over at Sarah, who gave him a reassuring nod, and he took a deep breath. This is my story of learning English," he began, his voice trembling. He spoke about his struggles, his fears, and his determination. He shared moments of doubt and times when he felt like giving up, but he kept going. As he spoke, he saw nods of understanding from his classmates. He realized they weren't judging him, they were listening. When he finished, the room was quiet for a moment, and then his classmates started clapping. Jake felt his face flush with pride. It wasn't a perfect presentation, but it was his. He had shared his story, and people had listened. He had found his voice. One evening, as Jake was reviewing his vocabulary words, he received an unexpected video call request. It was from one of his language partners, Kevin, who lived in another country. They often practiced together, sharing stories in English and learning from each other. "Hey, Jake," Kevin greeted him with a warm smile. "I just wanted to say thanks. Learning English with you has been amazing. You make it so fun, even when it's hard." Jake was taken aback, touched by Kevin's words. He realized he wasn't just learning English for himself, but he was also part of someone else's journey. Together, they built a bond that crossed borders and languages. They spent hours talking, laughing over their mistakes, and encouraging each other. By the end of the call, Jake felt grateful. He realized that learning English had introduced him to friends he might never have met otherwise. To celebrate Jake's progress, Sarah and a few of their friends organized a surprise study session with a twist. They gathered in the school library, decorated with small English flashcards, and even brought Jake's favorite snacks. "Today, we're going to practice English, but with games," Sarah announced, smiling at Jake. They played word games, charades, and even did a mock roleplay of a restaurant scene, complete with fake menus and exaggerated accents. Jake laughed harder than he had in a long time. It was a day filled with joy and a reminder that learning didn't always have to be serious. That evening, as Jake walked home, he felt a deep warmth in his heart. He realized that his friends were more than just people he practiced with. They were part of his journey, part of the memories he'd carry forever. 1 year later, Jake was no longer the shy boy who struggled with English. He had grown into a confident young man who could express himself freely. He looked back on all the people who had supported him: his mother with her tea, Sarah with her unwavering support, Mr. Thompson's encouraging note, and Kevin, his language partner. Jake decided to write a letter to each of them, thanking them for being part of his journey. To his mother, he wrote, "Thank you for believing in me and for reminding me that small steps matter." To Sarah, he wrote, "Thank you for being there, for listening, and for showing me that learning is more than just words." To Mr. Thompson, he wrote, "Thank you for your faith in me. Your encouragement pushed me to keep going." To Kevin, he wrote, "Thank you for being my friend from afar. Our late night calls were my favorite English lessons." As Jake sealed each letter, he felt a sense of peace. He knew that learning English was more than just a goal. It was a journey filled with memories, friendships, and a newfound love for language. Years later, Jake looked back on his journey as he shared his story with others learning English. His journey was filled with laughter, mistakes, friendships, and the courage to keep going. He knew he was not alone. Everyone who had helped him was part of his success. As he spoke, he saw the hope in the eyes of those listening. They reminded him of his younger self, the boy who had struggled to understand the words on the TV, who felt lost but never gave up. And as he finished his story, he felt a deep sense of gratitude, because learning English had given him more than just language. It had given him a lifetime of memories, moments, and connections he would cherish forever. Participating in group activities also helped me overcome shyness. In my language exchange group, we had discussions and games. Speaking in a group felt less intimidating than speaking one-on-one. It allowed me to listen to others and learn from them. Over time, I became more confident. Speaking English was not about being perfect. It was about communicating and connecting with others. I focused on the message I wanted to share rather than the mistakes I might make. This shift in mindset made a big difference. Now, I can speak English with confidence. I am not afraid to make mistakes because I know they were part of learning. I enjoy talking with others and learning from them. I am proud of how far I have come. If you feel shy about speaking English, remember that it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when learning something new. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate your progress and set small goals. Surround yourself with supportive people. With time, you will become more confident. You can do it, just like I did.